Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to talk about a little interesting video. This is not for the little kids. This is glory. So, this is a Civil War film. A decently done Civil War film. I mean, there are some flaws to it historically. So, this is historical fiction. This is not, it's based on true events, but they play with history. So, they play with history just a little bit. And this came out in 1989, so it stars Matthew Broderick, Denzel Washington, Cary, Elwes, trying to think where on earth he's in. Off the top of my head, he stars in Princess Bride. He's the main character. And then Morgan Freeman. So, it's an interesting film. It is very gory. They do use reenactors, who were Civil War reenactors in this, though they kind of, again, they fudge some of it. When I looked on the IMDb page, some of the stuff they show was shot at when they were doing a reenactment of Gettysburg, which, again, was not what this main character that Matthew Broderick plays. Yeah, they were trying to show a different battle, which I cannot name off the top of my head. It starts with A. And it was the bloodiest battle in American history. So the Civil War is not my era. It's not the area I have an expertise in it. And I watched this last night and I skipped through some of it because it's very, very gory. And again, it's about the story of the, and yes, I'm looking at the back of this, the 54th Regiment of Massachusetts, which was an all-black regiment. As opposed to the film, this was not the first. There was a couple other ones that they did do a few in the Civil War. Not the Civil War. Yes, in the Civil War. There's like 3 of them in the Civil War. This was one of them. It was not the first. I think there were 2 other ones from like Tennessee or something. But this one is specifically talking about the 54th. So these were African Americans. All, as opposed to, again, the film, there's a few things. It's showing some that were escaped slaves, which was not actually true to reality. This was an elite force of freemen only. So when they put this together, they wanted this to be an elite force. And Matthew Broderick's character is kind of, he's not injured in the battle, but he's shown he's injured in the very beginning. He says no multiple times to this, just because he doesn't feel he's up to it. So he's very liberal. He's from Boston, Massachusetts. His parents are from Boston. He's upper class. So he's an abolitionist. They messed again with history. One of the guys that they have with was actually, like the head of his, because he had the regiment, the entire battalion was mixed up with somebody else who's shown as someone who was very, very racist. He was not. He was a big abolitionist. So they mess around with history. They put people where they're not supposed to. And they show escaped slaves in this regiment when there were not. So, and again, there was quite a few little things. But again, it goes through these guys training. And again, how they were looked down upon. And how they ended up fighting in this battle for this fort and dying, including Matthew Broderick's character. They were thrown in a mass grave by the South. So this was after Gettysburg. So this was, I wouldn't say near the ending of the war, but the South was losing. And as history we know, they're done. After Gettysburg, they are done. Because they Lee screwed up badly because he lost a lot of men in Gettysburg. So, and yeah, I think I might actually cover that film at some point in time because that was supposed to be much, much more accurate than this. But again, it fudges history. Is something I would consider historical fiction. It is good to look at just to kind of get an idea that there were black regiments. Yes, the South would have, if they were captured, they would have been turned back to slavery. Again, the The white soldiers were not facing much better, considering they would be imprisoned or killed. And some of the Andersonville comes to mind, which is one of their prison camps, because again, the South was losing and they didn't have a lot of food. They didn't have a lot of supplies. They certainly weren't going to spend it on prisoners of war. So yeah. So again, guess they fought knowing this. So yes, the African Americans, the blacks, fought knowing that by going into the South and fighting, they would be put into slavery if they were captured alive. So, and it shows that. It shows how they were determined. They were fighting for freedom for them. Why some of the other American soldiers in the North were fighting for different things, as soldiers do. Were they fighting for the freedom of blacks? Were they just fighting for their country? It depended on what the individual was doing in their own background. So, again, what the countries were doing, in some cases, it is a little bit, again, it's history. So, it's never clear cut. Please, even, and they don't thankfully talk about Lincoln all that much. It's a whole different story. The man was actually racist. But again, he wanted to send the Africans to Liberia. He didn't think blacks and whites could live together. But again, this is the Civil War era. But that's what this is about. So this is Glory. It's decently done. It's very, very bloody. They do not hide the gore of the Civil War, which was, yeah, it was bloody, it was gory, it was icky, to say the least. It was painful. The medical understanding was not very well. A lot of people died from wounds, not necessarily in battle or disease. And yeah, they showed a lot of this. They did not hide this. So they did show the realities of the war. Again, the history is fudged. So it's a good thing, particularly for homeschoolers, if you want to look, you can get a good idea of black fighters in the war and some of the history around it. It's also good if you want to look at the film, and then I always do love the compare and contrast, because it's good to look at these films and look for the inaccuracies. Look into the history and say, okay, what did they get right? What did they get wrong? It's a good thing to get critical thinking out of. Particularly, again, this is middle school at the youngest. Because, again, it's dealing with hard topics. There is a whipping scene in this, which is actually apparently highly inaccurate, because they were no longer whipping anybody in the North at that time. So, no. Again, it's Denzel Washington's character who's being whipped. And from what I was able to read on IMDb, the only reason he took this was because he was going to have a fully fleshed out character. I believe this was 1989. So this was early on in his career. So he was looking for stuff where he could be fully fleshed out, and he's completely bald in this one. He has no hair. Matthew Broderick is okay. I mean, he's a decent enough actor. He's normally a stage actor. That's his forte. That's what he does. So being in film is not something he does very often. Morgan Freeman's fantastic, but Morgan Freeman's always fantastic. I do not know of a film. I do not particularly like him, and he's just an absolutely phenomenal actor. Denzel Washington's good too, but again, this was early on in his career. And Morgan Freeman, of course, came to Hollywood late. I think he was in his 30s or something, but he really came 30s or 40s when he came out, and he is probably one of the best African American actors ever. And Denzel Washington is still very good. He's not, however, very good at my brain just remembered something. Every single film I've seen him in lately that's portraying African American history is messed up. This one is not as messed up as Remember the Titans. Yes, I did that one. Or The Great Debaters, which is worse and has less excuses than something made by Disney, which is the Remember the Titans. So this is slightly better than both of those and earlier in his career. So apparently he gets successively worse at portraying the history of his own people. But again, I did both of those. They have lots of historical issues. Lots and lots and lots of historical issues. Remember the Titans has the excuse of it's Disney, and Disney doesn't do anything besides making money well. So, The Great Debaters does not. Denzel directed it, Oprah funded it, and they messed up history badly. But you can check out both of those videos. Those were done previously. Those would have come out in 2022, I believe, is when I did Remember the Titans and The Great Debaters. Great films in and of themselves. Crappy betrayals of history. This again is better, but this is very bloody. It's very Civil War. It's very, very tough to watch. So middle school and up is my recommendation. I mean, obviously parents make their own choices, but I'm not going to recommend this for anything. And the middle school is iffy. So great film to walk out, particularly if you're looking for those inaccuracies or for getting a feel of African Americans in the Civil War, because it does do an accurate portrayal of them. But again, the group that were portraying, one was elite, did not have escaped slaves at all, and it was not the first. There were two other ones. So it has its issues. It has lots of issues, but it's good. I mean, it's a good introductory, and particularly again, if you're doing homeschooling, you can look into at least two of the characters are real. Some of them are combined, and again, a lot of the African Americans are fudged or they're based off somebody else. So you can use it to look into people as well, and just kind of look at the real histories and kind of inspire your kids to be interested in this part of history. Because again, as they're older and they really like the Civil War era, this is a good film to watch. I will definitely cover Gettysburg, which is apparently very, very good. And I may cover Andersonville, because I want to torture myself with these Civil War films, which are very, very gory. So that is the end of this video. If you like what you see, be sure to check out the rest of the channel. I do stuff like this. Normally around February, I do cover Black History Month, as is pretty common. Just because it's a good place as any to throw in African American history. So this, I cover films like this, historical stuff, documentaries, lots and lots of books, all particularly by or about African American stories. The books are specifically by African Americans. So that's very specific to me. When I cover minorities, I cover books written by said minorities. It's very important to me for me to do that, at least when it covers the books. The films are obviously a little bit hard. So I try to find things that are accurate as much as possible. Again, with the African American history and film, not having much luck with that. So I also cover a ton of other stuff. Book reviews, film reviews, some of it's fun, some of it's children. I cover older kid stuff, younger kid stuff. We do some travel videos. I'm going to throw in some board games and some fun stuff when it comes to homeschooling. My daughter is young, so a lot of this stuff, at least for the next couple of years, are going to be little kid stuff. My daughter, by the time you guys see this, she'll be closing in on about 3.5. So, or yeah, 3.5. As of this filming, she's a little over 2.5. So this is being filmed, if you want to reference where I'm putting things. This is April 12th of 2022. So that's when we're filming this. So, but again, like and subscribe, leave a positive comment. If you have one, check out the channel. I have a lot to offer. Thank you.